Hello everyone, and welcome to week 27 of my No Buy year.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor?
So I've done several examinations of my stuff and kind of declutters of my various collections. I haven't done everything yet, but I've done several by now. And I was kind of journaling my feelings and thoughts and observations on my makeup declutter. And I wanted to share a few of the light bulb moments about kind of shopping in general that highlighted for me after the fact. So regarding makeup specifically, my approach in the past has been a little more artistic as far as, wearing makeup, consuming makeup content. I used to be more interested in the more involved artistic looks, and now my focus has shifted to be more utilitarian, kind of just everyday neutral, if you will, or maybe natural is a better word. Less prioritizing the artistic and more prioritizing the functional. And obviously makeup is not necessary at all. You could go out without wearing any at all. It's a choice, but my choices have gone from kind of more flamboyant and artistic and experimental to reliable, stable, use what works, and not experiment so much, I guess you could say. So it's not really something that I am looking to collect or use for pure pleasure anymore. It's a functional thing in my life. So that as well, that pivot, that shift over the course of my makeup using lifetime has also highlighted several things. I guess I have a list of 5 things. So I'll start with the first one. It doesn't take much to make excess. And I think this applies to more than just makeup. So if you think of your clothes, if you think of makeup products, beauty products, skincare, anything that you have multiple options of, it could be toys or sporting equipment or specific tools of your trade. It doesn't take a lot to make more than you actually need. A lot of these items have lots of use value in that item. If you have a shirt, you could wear it hundreds of times before it falls apart to the point where you can't repair it and you've got to get rid of it. If you've got a lipstick, you could use that multiple hundreds of times before it's used up. And they do have expiry dates, so you've got to use it within a certain period of time. With any tools and others of these items, toys, they take a long time to be used beyond the point of usability. Therefore, the more you have, the less each individual thing is used. The more you have, the less likely you'll use up the consumable products in the time that they should be consumed. In my makeup declutter, I had a few products that were over 10 years old, and I did not make a dent in using those, and how ridiculous is that? So it doesn't take a lot to make excess. The second thing that I noticed is that beauty is full of trends, and I, again, can apply this to many other aspects of consumable items. So beauty is full of trends, and trends are designed to get us to buy something new. Fashion is full of trends, designed to get us to buy something new. Even to some degree, technology, tools, toys, even medias, you could say, things that you buy, movies, books. It's all based on cycling trends or new ideas, the ideas that are in vogue today. You could even argue that the no-buy is a trend right now, and so maybe that's why you're here watching this video. But the point here is that trends are applicable to many areas of consumables, and they can trick you into buying when you don't actually need to buy. You always have to be wary of what is serving you this item. Why did you see this item? Did you see this because a trend told you that you should be seeing it? And if that's the case, did you really need to buy it? Were you going to look for that item? Would you have heard of this item if it had not been served to you? And then if you do buy into a trend, what happens when the pendulum swings away from that trend? What happens when the goalposts move to the next level? Are you going to follow, or are you happy with that actual piece? Because we know that the pendulum constantly swings, and we know that the goalposts constantly move. And there are some really tragic examples where you could even say that our beauty aesthetics, like body shape, have been trending to some degree. And celebrities have been known to get things like butt implants or breast lifts or whatever, and then have these procedures reversed when they're no longer trendy, when a different look is in. And while I hope that that's a very extreme example for most people, we can kind of apply that tragic nature to the things we buy on some level as well. And we must know that we are prepared to save our items from tragedy if they're no longer cool or no longer trendy. Do I like this because of what it is? Am I prepared to wear it when it's no longer cool and when it might make me look uncool. The third point is that stuff you buy inevitably ends up unused or possibly languishing because of these first 2 points of either having excess or the trends moving on. And worst case scenario, sometimes this stuff ends up decluttered or as straight up trash. And the solution here is obviously to pinpoint that before you buy something. Is this trash before I buy this? Where is this going to end up at the end of its lifespan? What is the end of its lifespan? If it's a beauty product, is it going to be used up all the way to the end of the container or the project pans, whatever? And will then, the container be the only thing that's discarded? Which that could be another problem about how much packaging there is in makeup, but let's save that for another day. If it's an article of clothing, what is the end of this garment's life? And how many garments' lives am I going to be ending in my life? How many clothes am I going to wear out to the point of actually having to throw them away or repurpose them into rags or kind of do things like that? How much of a collection allows things to actually be worn out in that way? And I know there's something to be said for having more options to rotate through so that things don't wear out as quickly, but I feel like we've passed that point, most of us who have been influenced online, most of us who are probably watching this video. That might be a little too presumptive, but I think all of us have seen influencers, at least fashion influencers, and their collections and the quantities of clothes they have. And I mean, back to myself as a personal example, I believe I have more options than I need to rotate through to extend the life of my clothes in a reasonable way. And I guess the other point there is if you buy high quality to begin with, then they'll take longer to wear out. So there's always a balance to be found, right? But in general, thinking about the end of your item's life, the object's life, as you purchase it, I think is a very valuable tool that should be commonplace and is perhaps not what we focus on when we're in that haze of seeing something and wanting it and buying it. We kind of miss that step of where is this going to end up? What is the last resting place for this object? Not to mention the fact that as soon as we buy something, that's become the final resting place of the money we spend on it, right? The fourth point is that the most fun in the shopping process is usually the shopping, the discovery, the search, the comparisons, the research we do, fantasizing about what that item might bring to our lives. And then after you purchase it, the waiting for the item, the tracking the package, and possibly the first few days of having the thing, right? We don't fantasize about a lifetime with that thing, or at least I used to not fantasize about the lifetime. I have actually noticed that now I've gone through so much of my stuff. I've gone through 6 months of not buying new things. Now I am looking at the clothes in my closet and saying to my mind, saying to myself, I can see myself wearing that when I'm 70 years old and feeling like a cool grandma. Not to say that I'll be a grandma for sure, but you know what I mean, a cool old lady. I can see myself wearing a very similar makeup product to this, or maybe no makeup at all, but hypothetically speaking, right? If it's something that I feel is truly me, I could imagine myself, even, wrinkled and older, wearing that same thing or same kind of thing, right? So the point that I'm getting at here is that the fun of the shopping experience kind of distorts our true use value of the things we're shopping for. And it also over-prioritizes the value of things when they're new, as opposed to when they're serving their true purpose of being used, getting the little signs of age and the patina of time and the repairs you make when you love something and have worn holes in them, and the signs that somebody really identifies with these items in a positive way, right? Obviously, not everybody who wears clothes and wears holes in them identifies with the clothes. We might be getting off in the weeds here. But I guess the point is, if it was fun to use up our stuff, if that was more prevalent in the market, and there are things like Project Pan and capsule wardrobes and 10x10s and things that make it more fun to use our stuff. So I think we should utilize and aspire to take in examples of all of those things. But if the fun was not in the purchasing part and in the using the stuff we have part, I think that's just something to keep in mind. How we can make that happen with our own stuff. And I guess the other piece of that is that marketing makes acquiring the thing look really, really fun, right? That's how they get you to buy stuff. They can't make it look fun to use your old items that you don't need to buy again, because that doesn't sell any of the new thing that they're pitching to you. And then the fifth and final point today is that I realized that shopping is really a time-wasting activity. As a kid, actually, I do remember not liking going shopping. I hated being dragged along with my mom when we would go to JCPenney or whatever because I needed longer pants for back to school. And it was not a fun time. And I just wanted to find something that worked. And this obviously was before I cared as much as I do now about my fashion and clothing choices. Again, just using the example of clothing. And I guess everybody has a category of things that's really not fun to shop for. For some people, they might not like grocery shopping. For other people, it might be when the light bulb burns out in your house and you just have to replace it as a utilitarian thing. And I know some people are like this about clothing and makeup too. But I do wonder if everybody has some category where shopping for it might be fun or at least satisfying in some way. But I think the problems now with consumer culture being what it is that online shopping has kind of taken over. It's being shoved in our faces if we're on social media at all. And it's being presented as an aspirational activity by the influencers who receive things for free or take sponsorships to try to sell the things from the companies that sponsor them. And it becomes hard to see the truth because media is geared towards making that whole process aspirational. But it's really just a fantasy activity. Shopping is not real life. I made a video last week about how online consumer culture is not real life, but maybe I'm now extending that to excessive shopping is not real life. Shopping beyond for what you need is a waste of your life force. And again, I'm not trying to tell people what to do or if people legitimately enjoy shopping as a hobby. Well, I mean, maybe I am trying to tell people what to do in that. I guess my argument is that shopping as a hobby is not a good hobby. And especially influenced shopping. People can convince you to buy anything one way or another. Even as a utilitarian user of makeup, I've fallen into the trap of buying things that I don't need, that I wasn't looking for before I saw it presented to me, that created excess in my collection. And I was listening to recommendations for things I really didn't need. I was taking recommendations for things I really didn't need. And I guess for me, it was hard not to. If I saw somebody saying that this thing was so great, it was hard for me to not want to try it out for myself, even if it wasn't a category of product that I was truly excited about. The recommendation kind of drummed up that excitement in me to want to try it in some cases. And even articulating that makes it sound a little bit silly because if I wasn't looking for it, if I wouldn't have known of its existence, if somebody hadn't pitched it to me as something to buy, I would not have bought it. I would not have even wanted it. And here we are. I hope this is a sign that the challenge of the no buy year is doing a lot of good work in that I can reflect on these things and see them very starkly now. So those were a few of my little light bulb moments about shopping in general as reflecting on my makeup declutter. So it doesn't take a lot to make excess in your collections. Fashion, beauty, most everything out there is full of trends. The stuff you buy inevitably ends up as trash. The most fun in shopping is the search, the discovery, the wanting phase. But shopping itself is kind of a time-wasting activity. All right, I hope those general thoughts on shopping and me reflecting on it was helpful or relatable for somebody out there. Perhaps reflecting on your own collections or your own areas of problematic consuming in the past, you might spot some of these tendencies, behaviors, patterns of thinking as well. Let me know. Bye for now, and I will see you in the next one. And some of you may be relieved to know that I have decluttered all of the makeup that is undoubtedly expired. Undoubtedly expired. So the 10-year-old MAC lipsticks are now gone. We don't need any health hazards in my makeup drawer. And the whole industry of beauty is manufactured needs anyway. People have been sold the desire to use makeup.